We haven't really done a lot of marketing. So the way that we've grown is entirely by word of mouth, and the philosophy at Trademe is very much if we build a great product or a great website, people will tell their friends. We believe a lot in the authenticity of word of mouth, and we also have a inherent distrust really of marketing and basically telling, we're really afraid of advertising now because we're afraid of telling consumers what our brand means to them when they know more about it than what we do. So we don't do any advertising because everyone has their own feeling about Trademe and how they learnt about it, whether it's through antiques or through cars or through property or whatever. And we don't really feel like we should go and rock the apple cart, so we don't do any advertising. But we do understand work to understand our customers quite a lot. So we have 1.5 million customers in New Zealand. Pretty much anyone that uses the internet in New Zealand is, with any regularity has been on Trademe or is a member of Trademe. And we really represent the middle of New Zealand. We don't have any export earnings, and that combined with selling to an Australian media company probably doesn't make me that popular in some quarters, but the we work a lot on understanding our customers, and our customers are really middle New Zealand. And interesting discussion last night actually at dinner with Daryl, and he was saying that in his early career he got sent out into the middle of the US to go and interview 200 people in a supermarket, where people are 20 years old and we've got 4 kids, about toothbrushes, if you're designing toothbrushes, for example. We really, really understand that the majority of the people in New Zealand don't earn what we earn, and they don't do what we do, and they, it's astounding when you look at the number of people that are in manufacturing or in primary production or any of these kind of areas. These people have slightly different lives to us, and it's important to understand that. So if we talk about some design principles, and I've got just 3 that I kind of have retrofitted to the last 7 or 8 years. The first one for us is design for speed. The most important thing on the web from a usability perspective is speed. If your site loads in 20 seconds, no one will stay. If it loads in 1, they'll stay and they'll spend more time. If we do anything that increases the speed of our page loads, our business, the time that they spend on the site increases. It doesn't decrease. They don't have a finite number of pages they need to consume before they leave. They have a finite amount of tolerance for pausing. And this is one of the reasons why we're seeing a big decline in free-to-air television advertising revenues and viewership. It's because people just don't have time to be interrupted and have to wait for that stuff. So we serve 1 billion pages a month, 1,000 database transactions per second. If anyone knows anything about that, that's about 60% of all the traffic on the New Zealand internet. So this is a really, really important part of our business. And if anything, we invest a lot more time in engineers than we do in designers, because the most important design characteristic for us is speed. So speed, number 1 thing, really important for us. The second thing is convention. And convention is really important to us because if you're talking about usability, then usability is all about this concept of not making people have to think. So if I go to, there's an example in my hotel room this morning. I went to the jug, and there's 2 buttons on my jug in my room. Like if I go to a jug and there's 1 button, I know what it does. If I go to a jug and there's 2 buttons, I have no idea what they do. What's the other button do? So there's these conventions that have been established, and we really focus a lot on those conventions. And that is basically the philosophy of working with what people already understand and already know is much, much easier and imposes a lot less friction on processes than trying to change it and trying to make them understand something new. It's a really bold leap to go and do those new things. And we're quite happy to let other people set conventions for us. So we're a relatively new industry, in terms of consumer websites, 10 years or so, and there's a number of conventions in that area, but they're still changing a bit and they're still stabilising. So keeping an eye out for what those conventions are is important. So we look at the web and we look at what conventions do we look at. There's hundreds, and it takes a really refined kind of eye. So I sit down at a page and I can say, well, we need to do this and we need to do this, and the reason why I'm really doing that is just based on years of experience of conventions. But if we look at 4 and we look at a few websites, so logo, top left, is clickable, takes you to the home page, right? We all know that. Back button's up in the top left as well, takes you back. Links are blue and underlined typically. If you write text which is blue and underlined, that isn't a link, people will click it and be annoyed. And if you write text which isn't blue or isn't underlined, then the percentage of people that will click it will go down. Search is a box with a button and there's a go or a search button beside it. Tabs do containers of pages and infer hierarchy. So the first thing I do with my designer when I sit down with him is I make his links blue and underlined, constantly, because the first thing he wants to do is redesign links rather than redesign because they don't fit the color scheme. They don't fit. The third thing really is about measurement, and we think about measurement all the time. We think about business metrics like how many bids do we have placed per minute yesterday, so we can see any hiccups or can see if when we saw the most interesting one of these I saw was when suddenly the bids just went right down and went flat for like 3 or 4 minutes. I was like, oh my God, the servers are off. And Hamish Carter had won a gold medal at the Olympics, and that was the event that had driven it. But we see it immediately, so we understand those sorts of metrics. But much more important metrics are thinking of processes as funnels. And we talked about process funnels and innovation funnels, and there are sales funnels that everyone's kind of familiar with, the prospects through to dollars. We think a lot about building funnels around everything through the website. So we put lots of people on the top through your marketing campaign or word of mouth or whatever, and then you get money out the bottom. And the basic theory behind this is that if you start to multiply lots of numbers less than 1 together, then the number that comes out the bottom gets really small. So taking a process which is 6 pages long and you have 40% follow through, 40% of people make it to the next step, taking that to 5 steps, you get 10 customers, multiplies by 2.5. Taking it to 4 steps, go to 26. Take it to 3 steps, you get 64. So taking a process like that and collapsing it or making it more simple or lifting those percentage rates is really important. So if you look at how we do that, and just one example. So we take if you're a seller on Trademe, you arrive as a visitor, you become a registered member, then you list something, and then hopefully you successfully sell something, and then you pay us because we charge a success fee, so you don't pay us in advance, you pay us afterwards. And then our revenue drops out the bottom. So we think about how can we increase these conversion rates through here. And if we take 10% more people from visitors to registered members by making the link blue and underlined, we have 10% more money drop out the bottom. So I guess what the point of all that is we don't really think of ourselves so much as designers. We think about trying to find design solutions for spreadsheet problems. So we think a lot more in spreadsheets than we do in Photoshop, but we need to have the skills in order to integrate the two. And that's kind of, I guess, my core competency outside of running the company generally. If we look at an example here, we've got ads in the top right and the bottom left. We have them there because no one looks at them, which it's a secret, but no one looks at those areas of the screen, so it impacts less on our user experience, and advertisers don't really know any better, so that's all right. So what we've got here, we're in a sell process now. First page of our sell process. What would you like to sell? There's no ads. If we put ads there, 1 to 2% of people will click them. That's bad, because our core funnel is that we want people to sell stuff. That's where we make our money.